if the cage was never real, never real? What if the bars were only thoughts, only thoughts? I woke up feeling stuck again, but I'm not stuck, I'm rising.
Peace and welcome to Be Aware of Your Thoughts. This is how manifestation works. Here we remember that our mind is not a cage, it is a sacred space. My name is Dr. Cynthia Marie Whitley, and today I'm here with another podcast. That was just a teaser. That song you will hear at the end of this podcast. So let's get ready. Peace. How to break free from the mental cage. I woke up this morning and in one of my most private times, you know that time when consciousness is returning after being in sleep, after coming back from the subconscious, but you haven't opened your eyes yet? Those few moments, because that's all it is, that is such a precious time for me to receive revelations that I feel I must share with those in the sound of my voice. I heard softly whispered, how do one become free from the mental cage they have created? What if the cage we feel trapped in at times has no bars? What if the bars we've been pushing against were never made of steel, but of thought? Pause with that for a moment, because many people today are not physically imprisoned, and yet they, and sometimes we, me too, wake up feeling stuck, limited, unseen, or unable to move forward. Not because we lack ability and not because we lack opportunity, but because somewhere along the way we accepted a story about ourselves that quietly became a cage. I remember I was in a school audition and I wanted to be Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. But the only Wizard of Oz was the original Wizard of Oz, and I knew darn well I did not look like Julie Garland. But Emily did, my friend, my best friend. I was already defeated because I said she's going to get it because I don't look like Dorothy. So I was defeated in my heart as I watched the audition, knowing or believing that I wasn't going to get it anyway. And Emily did get that part. And then I had to pretend that I was happy. I didn't stop being her friend because it wasn't her fault. I knew that even as young as the fifth grade, that it wasn't her fault. But my heart was hurt. And I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to protect myself. I am not going to audition for any more parts. Not only did I not get the part, I couldn't sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I had to be a munchkin and make that funny sound, follow the yellow brick road. Oh, was I horrified. I became silent. A mental cage is not obvious. It doesn't announce itself. It sounds like this. This is just who I am. I've always struggled with this. It's too late for me. People like me don't do that. People like me don't get those parts. And the most powerful part is that these thoughts don't feel like lies. They feel like truth. Over time, repetition turns thoughts into beliefs. Beliefs turn into identity, as false as it may be, and identity shapes behavior. So without realizing it, we stop trying. We shrink our dreams. We stay in familiar discomfort because it feels safer than unfamiliar possibility. But here is where freedom begins. The moment we notice the cage, we are no longer fully inside of it. Awareness is the first crack of the gate being open. Because if you can observe a thought, it cannot be who you are. Let me say that again. If we can observe a thought, it cannot be who we are. Because we are the thinker. We are the witness. We are the awareness behind the thought. How about that? So who built the cage? This is not about blame. Many of our mental cages were built through childhood experiences, like the one I told you about with Dorothy. Through repeated messages from others, doesn't matter who from, could be family, it could be the media, doesn't matter, could be friends, through moments of pain, rejection, I'm holding my heart here, or failure. At some point, our mind made a decision. And this is how we stay safe, or at least we think we're safe. And that decision becomes a pattern. So the cage was never meant to trap us. We wouldn't do that to ourselves knowingly. It was meant to protect us. But what once protected us may now be limiting us. Freedom does not come from force. It comes from questioning. That you mean it's okay for us to ask questions? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. How else are you going to learn? The questions rise up in you all the time. Doesn't matter who you are. Little kids show us that all the time by asking question after question after question after question. We ask too. They just say it. They're not hindered yet. They're not afraid yet. That comes with time. That's odd, right? The older we get, or in the middle, we stop asking questions. We start thinking about everybody outside of us and what they might think. Instead of fighting your thoughts, begin asking, is this absolutely true? Where did I learn this? Who would I be without this belief? This is where the shift begins, because every limiting belief is built on a story. And stories can be rewritten. Stories can be rewritten. Imagine this. The same mind that created the cage is the mind that can create the key. You don't break free by becoming someone new. You break free by remembering who you were before the cage was built. Before the doubt, before the fear, before the labels. There is a version of you, of us, that is curious, expansive, unafraid to imagine, that version still exists. Let me offer you something practical. The next time you feel stuck, pause and ask, what am I believing right now? Then ask, is this belief expanding me or shrinking me? If it is shrinking you, gently choose another thought. Or remember the other podcast, knock on another door. If it is shrinking you, gently choose another thought. Not a forced, unrealistic one, but one that opens a door to what you desire. For example, instead of, I can't do this, how about I'm learning how to do this? Instead of, I'm stuck, how about I'm in a moment of transition? Small shifts create space. Space creates movement. Movement creates freedom. Just think about the Harriet Tubmans of the world. They had to move in order to obtain freedom. They didn't stay put. They ran for their life. You've got to move. You've got to move. You've got to move. You've got to move. If you want freedom, you've got to move. Okay, just gave you a little taste of my voice. Freedom is not found outside of you. It is not in circumstances, people, or validation. Freedom is the ability to choose your perspective, even when your situation has not yet changed. And from that new perspective, your actions begin to change. Your energy begins to shift. There's a saying out there that I hear all the time, but I don't know it by heart. But it's sort of like your circumstances, along the lines of your circumstances, follows your thoughts. But it has the word energy in it, almost like where your energy goes is where things become materialized along that line. And eventually your reality follows. That's the key. So I'll leave you with this. The cage is made of thought. When freedom, then freedom must also begin there. Let me repeat that. If the cage is made of thought, then freedom must also begin there. What belief have you been holding on to that is no longer serving you? And more importantly, are you ready to let it go? Are you ready? Are you ready to move? Are you ready for freedom? Thank you for spending time with me. If this message touched, moved, and inspired you, then take a moment and reflect upon what was said. Listen to it again. Share this message with at least 3 people who you know will appreciate this message and can benefit from this podcast. Thanks for listening, because I now have nearly 2,500 podcast downloads. And believe me, in the beginning, Before, when I had zero, I said, ooh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I was afraid. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. But I did it anyway. I said, no cage for me. Not now. So please consider becoming a supporter of this show for as little as $3 a month. You can cancel at any time. And remember, be aware of your thoughts because your mind is not a cage. It's a sacred place. Your thoughts become your life. And because they are always creating, they make your experiences also. And with that, I say peace.
Whatever didn't it yeah. What if the cage was never real? Never real. What if the bars were only thoughts? Only thoughts. I woke up feeling stuck again. But I'm not stuck, I'm rising. A quiet voice said, this is the end. What if the bars were only thoughts? Only thoughts. I woke up feeling stuck again. But I'm not stuck, I'm rising. A quiet voice said, this is